So, dark and stormy edition of the Wind and Wave podcast, huh?
And isn't it ironic?
He is the wind, she is the wave, and together they make up the band they call the wind and the wave. They're not related, they're best buds, they're BFFs for life, hashtag BBIT dubs. It's the Dwight and Patty Show. The Dwight and Patty Show. It's the Dwight and Patty Show.
It's Dwight. Hey, welcome to episode 8 of the Dwight and Patty Show podcast, presented by the Wind and the Wave. We're doing this on a dark and stormy day.
I like
in
this.
Austin, Texas.
I like this kind of weather.
Patty's audio is fixed and popping now.
Does it sound amazing?
Yeah, it does. She should sound like an even sexier version of herself. And you guys get to be the benefits of that, beneficiaries of that. And I imagine that they're very pleased with that. We have a guest today again, but before we do, we have a couple new patrons. Okay?
Okay.
Aren't you super excited that we have a couple new patrons?
Yeah, of course, always.
In this time of unemployment, we continue to climb the ladder.
I already said thank you.
Our private jet.
I already privately said thank you to these folks. I went on Patreon and messaged them. So that's how much I care.
We have a new patron named Amanda Huff, who is a pit row tire changer. She was the first female pit row tire changer. It's very, very, unique, original company. So in NASCAR, they don't have a lot of women there in pit row. And Amanda Huff kind of broke that barrier down and became the first tire changer in NASCAR. And we also have Tes Beals. Tes Beals, who has her own Southern cooking show on TLC, midnight to 4 a.m. on Sundays. Every other month.
Cooking with Tes Beals.
No, it's called. That's like that's the parentheses, but the show is called "Hey y'all, want cook?"
No, that sounds like a tagline.
Hey y'all, want cook?
So
Tes cooking with Tes Beals. No.
Okay.
Hey y'all, want cook? Parentheses, cooking with Tes Beals.
Okay.
So we love Tes Beals biscuits. Phenomenal biscuits. Speaking of which, I went and finally my wife went and picked up for us Bird Biscuit, our good friend Brian Batch and his brother Baron and their partner. And we finally had a Bird Biscuit.
Oh yeah, I've been there.
Delicious.
Yeah,
Such
they're
good
really
biscuits.
good.
Wow.
Did you have one of their biscuit sandwiches? Because the biscuit
I did.
sandwich, yeah.
I did. I had an egg.
Good.
I had an egg and cheese and biscuit, and it was
That's the way.
Phenomenal. We might as well try to knock one email out. We have 3 from Johnny, so I'll just try to really quickly blow through Johnny's. Guess who? Well, I mean, what I look at, you can laugh at that, but also I look at that as like, he's participating in the community here, and these other free fucking loaders. See, now you got angry Dwight out, people. These other free fucking loaders who just listen to us every week, now twice a week, and love listening to our podcast, who do not email questions. Suck a dick. I'm mad at them. I'm mad at the people who are not emailing at all. I just feel like, guys, do you want to participate? What are your thoughts on that? You don't care. You love all.
I do love them all, but it would be nice to hear from some.
By the way,
I love Johnny. However, it would be nice to get some more variety in the inbox, to hear from some more people.
Agreed. Thank God for Johnny, though.
Yeah, for sure.
Also, don't I look so fucking skinny? Seriously, look how handsome I look right now.
We should do an episode one day where, like, for the entirety of the episode, I'm you and you're me.
Okay.
Like,
that's so easy. So easy to do. You're probably going to get mad at my impression of you, but so easy to do.
It would be fun.
I, because I'm me, will take yours as a compliment. You also saw me with full beard yesterday, and as you know, I noticed I have shaved it today. It is gone.
Yeah, you look younger and thinner today than you did yesterday.
I know. Hey, Patty. Hey, Dwight. First of all, I thought you might enjoy seeing this Bachelorette Edition Guess Who board game that my daughter customized in her free time.
I can't really see the picture. I can repost that later. What does it look like? What is it?
She made it looked like some other board game into a Bachelorette board game with pictures cut out of magazines or something. Her and my wife take their fuzzy little dog outside on the front porch to play. I told her that you would appreciate it, and she is very excited by that. Our family has been fortunate so far, even though my wife's retail company is completely shut down and they furloughed almost everyone around her. She only had to graciously accept a pay cut, so that was a close call. She's been working from home, and it's depressing listening to her talking to vendors about the next few quarters. Meanwhile, I work for an HR company which handles a lot of small businesses. I'm able to work from home as well, but it's been pretty scary. Few of my team members were requisitioned to help in the terminations department, and they're doing about 40 terminations per hour.
That's insane.
Oof. What a tough job. I've learned anything from the events of the past few months. One, this was just a test. When the real zombie apocalypse finally happens, clearly our new world currency will be toilet paper. Two, swim at your own risk. Do you remember that sign at the public school? Probably a good song title. The deep end is always there, and there's never a lifeguard on duty in this world. Frankly, I think we're closer to drowning than we'd like to admit. On the other hand, we're also seeing many unprecedented displays of generosity, so maybe there's hope for humanity. I try to remain optimistic. Anyway, your new song releases have been outstanding. Does God Love the Unlucky took me to a different place, while Rescue Me and Father were such amazingly familiar sounds, like coming back from college for the summer. I'm also super excited the Dwight and Patty Show Season 2 is on YouTube, but Dwight, you got to stop hiding behind that giant fucking microphone. Okay, I've already fixed that. You're too pretty for that shit, bro. Give the people what they want. Seriously, it's the size of your face. Testing. Fee, fi, fo, fum on this mic. Hello, I'm 2020. I make smaller microphones now. What are you overcompensating for? Last one. Good morning, Vietnam. Okay, Johnny, you're fucking hilarious. Shut up. After a good laugh, I like to go down to Question Town. Population, you. Patty, I've avoided a haircut since last year. How are you enjoying your short redhead haircut? I'm a huge fan, by the way. Have you also considered any other colors for the future? I think you could pull off the entire rainbow. Quick answer?
Sorry, I was posting a photo of you on my... I didn't hear the question because I was posting a photo of you on my...
Oh, my God.
I'm going to need to retake it, too, because you look old in this photo, and I know that that's not true because I'm looking at you right now, and you don't look old, so we need to redo that.
I've avoided a haircut since last year. How are you enjoying your short haircut? I'm a huge fan, by the way. If you consider any other colors for the future, I think you could pull off the entire rainbow.
Thank you. That's very, very sweet. I'm enjoying my short hair. It's getting a little long. I don't know what I'm going to do with it. The colors kind of, it's difficult to keep up with because it doesn't stay pink for very long before it starts to turn orange on me. I'm thinking I'd like to maybe go like blonde or like almost white.
Tough to pull off for Hispanic. Okay. Have you considered any other, like all the colors of the rainbow?
I mean, I have done other colors. I have done blue and purple. I've never done, I don't consider green or yellow. It would be a bad choice, I think.
Okay. Then he says, how are you keeping yourself busy, Dwight? Sex, drugs, or rock and roll? All of the above. I'll say sex, fair amount. Drugs, fair amount. Rock and roll, fair amount. Pretty balanced. Both. How amazing was it to play those European shows? What type of audience participation did you see during the Feelings Club shows? And what were the pros and cons of that Feelings Club format? Please wash your hands after reading this email. Best wishes to you and your family. Anything for you, Johnny. Great email, as per usual. I wish we could give him like an exclusive best emailer of the of the month. Maybe we should come up with a best emailer
Well,
of the month T-shirt to make people.
Oh shit.
Oh, I think I just came up with a great idea.
Well, maybe
Best emailer of the month, exclusive one-off T-shirts.
Maybe we should also give him a special shout out on Saturday when we do our live stream concert. I have a couple other shout outs I already know I want to make. So.
Okay. Has David called in yet?
He's ready. So we're ready to introduce him whenever.
Okay. So we've talked a little bit about the Feelings Club already. We probably answered some of those because it's an older email, and we've answered the UK stuff. So we'll leave that part of the question out. I'm sure Johnny will be fine with that. Our next guest is our good friend, David Butler from Missio, the other half of Missio. He's the CO of Missio. And
he's the SIO.
We're going to get him on here. And we thought we were going to talk to Matt last time about a lot of stuff, and we ended up talking about God. So let's see where this goes with David. Let's bring him on.
Okay. There he is.
There he is.
He's so handsome.
Hey.
Yeah, David is a true rock star. Like, David was a rock star before he was a rock star. He already looked like a rock star. He always has been a rock star. Everyone should strive for David's rock starness and stage presence because they're both at a very high level.
He used to be a lot more clean cut, though.
He's gotten more and more homeless as the years have gone, yeah.
True. As my life has unfolded and my work situations have allowed me to really have no rules, then the hair has gotten longer and longer. So I used to toe a little bit of a line, a little bit of a gray area.
Yeah, he's kind of like Charlie Manson Chic,
Yeah, totally. Now,
I like how you went with Charlie, the nice pet name of him too. That's it's good.
The pet name. Now, do you braid your own hair now? Have you learned how to do that?
Yeah, there's not a now. I mean, I've had a few people do it a few times. Yeah, like I've always done that. Just that's pretty much a metaphor, probably, or an analogy for my life. I typically just, when I want to do something, slowly figure out kind of, sort of how to do it, and then accomplish it my way, and probably not the technically correct way, but it gets the job done.
I'm not sure. Like, Dwight, do you know how to do a standard braid? Do you know how to braid?
Are you kidding me?
No, that's a serious question. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't think many men know how to do a braid.
I would bet that most men with long hair probably do.
They figured it out, right?
Yeah, it's not like an advanced concept. And YouTube videos, man, like there'll be like a 7-year-old girl on there that'll show you the most gnarly braiding technique that you've ever seen. And
that's the best. That's the best thing about YouTube. You can learn how to do anything on YouTube. Anything.
Yeah. Absolutely. Like I remember a conversation you and I had, Dwight, where, I mean, I think it was really a lesson for you, but it kind of doubled as a lesson for me when you were telling me, I think it was Jackson was you're having a car problem, or I don't remember the exact problem, and you couldn't figure it out. And Jackson had already looked it up on YouTube and figured it out. And it's like, well, we're playing by the wrong rules here. Like we got to fucking change the way forward here,
Well, yeah, because the instinct of maybe even your generation and up, you're like, what, 31 or 32 or something?
35.
Okay, 35. So I think your generation and up, we went to manuals when something didn't work. You open the manual that came in the box and you looked up section 6.
Let's be honest. You threw the manual away immediately and just figured it out.
No.
Patty,
David and I both.
Let me tell you.
David and I both are manual savers.
Okay.
Day one on the job working for Dwight, my first was after the day was over. I had a few maybe small minor problems due to my ignorance with gear. He opened a drawer and said, "Here's all the manuals to all the gear in the studio. Wow. You're welcome to just start going through them." And that was what I did for a second. And I learned the gear really well,
But I guess the point being now you could just open some YouTube videos and they would walk you through how the gear worked, and you would get a better, actually even representation of the ins and outs of it for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah. Cause you'd see somebody actually doing what, it's not like theoretical. It's all right in front of you. And it's great.
So,
yeah.
So for those that don't know, David worked for me for what, 6 years? Was it something like that as my engineer at my studio?
I think, yeah, it feels like it's been longer because I was thinking about this the other day. We haven't actually done a project in quite a while outside of our own passion
Right.
ones, you know? But yeah.
Well, yeah, we've done so much with Missio because it kind of blew up for you guys that's been all we've done for 3 years. What's it like? What am I like as a boss? I'm very curious about that.
I love it. You're kind of like the perfect person for me to work with, because I think you're able to toe a line between head and heart that's pretty rare. Meaning like there's like a very structure to you that like I'm thinking like if you're going with Greek mythology, like a very Apollo like logical form, like you're able to just express your ideas very clearly like that to artists, but at the same time come from a place of just pure the opposite Dionysus like art. And so I think, and that's where I like to live too. I mean, I self-describe myself as a little bit of both. And so yeah, when you need to be tough and say something, you never a problem, and you never have a problem saying that. And it's always never like, it never hurts your feelings too much in the moment, even if it's not what you want to hear. So there's that, but then there's also the other side, which is a good balance, man. And I appreciate it. You know,
I just wonder because Patty has to deal with me too. And honestly, she's worse than me. So this probably doesn't bother as much, but
Like in what way?
you know, well, like morning moods, like some days I just walk in a bad mood, and I'm wondering, do I do a decent job of hiding it? Or do you, when I'm that way, because Patty does not, and I think I do not, do I just kind of come in and wreck shop, or do I, I'm just trying to learn about myself here, or do I kind of couch it and be like, hey, let's have some coffee and get to work? I know I don't do that, but.
Yeah, well, I think it's probably, if I'm honest, it's probably different, because one of the things that when you and Pat, you're probably different working with Patty than you are working with me or with maybe any of your other projects, because fundamentally what you're bringing to the table is a little different.
Sure.
I think like,
and there's probably like
wearing a few more hats.
Different power dynamics in different relationships and.
Sure. But dude, I mean, I think I always tend to like the bad days if we're in the studio for the most part, because it like.
You mean when I'm in a bad mood?
Well, when any of us are in bad moods, it usually breaks at some point, and we usually end up having a real conversation that, whether in that moment leads to something good, I kind of think that usually leads to good stuff, because we usually end up talking about it, and at least in sessions where we're all, you know, where you're writing stuff. Sessions where you're in a bad mood because we're doing shitty guitar solos all day, I can't help you there. That's just, those are, you know. Those are what they are, you know. That's
really funny. I talked to Ben Queller yesterday about my dislike for recording guitar solos, and he was like, "Yeah, you just got to get a guy that likes recording guitar solos." And I was like, "I had him, but he's famous now, and I don't get to use him anymore." So
yeah,
so I have to find someone else now.
Yeah, or just there you go, man. I mean, guitar solos maybe getting cut, you know. Hence, the Dwight Baker sound, you know.
Though, let me say this: on our new stuff, on the new demos, Patty, there's 3 guitar solos out of the 4 songs so far. Now they're short, and I did them, and they're simple, but I put guitar solos in our new songs.
Hey, I mean, I like that thought that you just expressed there. I encourage that. I think that's fun, you know, especially that you did them. You know, I think that's cool.
So how did Because again, Matt and I were talking about this the other day. How did I end up involved with you guys? I can't. Actually, Matt and I were talking about it last night. I can't remember. And you're a better documentarian and stuff like that. How did we end up?
Well,
because y'all already had a thing, and y'all were using my studio to do it when Patty and I were touring.
Right. So this happened at the time when In the Wave was like ramping up, and you guys like that first 2 years or 3 years, you guys were on the road like seemingly 100% of the time. Yeah. And so I was at that point, I'd been assisting with you, and really maybe I think I was your engineer at that point, and I was just running the studio on the side. So you were taking projects when you came home, which was pretty rarely, and then the rest of the time I was just like hustling. And part of one of those projects that I did was Missio, and it was just I guess a passion project of mine. We had done a couple EPs. In my mind, I don't. There's like a couple moments in my mind. I had always, not always, but it had crossed my mind a few times to maybe if there was ever a situation where it presented itself that you were home and we could work on something, and I knew it would be good just because I knew Matthew and I knew me and I knew you. Matthew didn't know you, and I think he was a lot more hesitant to bring anybody else into anything.
Sure. So,
and he didn't know you at all. So that was really like, what happened was, I think the glue was that you happened to be home from Wind in the Wave while we were working on I Don't Even Care About You in the studio, which was the first song that we had ever experimented with having an 808s in there.
I don't
shit
even
like
care
that. Like
about you.
real. Yeah.
Was I still living out there?
You must You must have been, or just out there doing something. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and you walked in and sat on the couch, and we were in one of those like Missio moments that we know all so well now, where we were about to just bail on everything because we couldn't figure it out, you know, and we were just like, dude, is this, just be honest with us, is this even remotely cool? And you're like, this is fucking awesome. And you just encouraged us to, you really just, you didn't contribute all that much in that moment other than, this is badass, keep going. This is cool.
Reassurance.
Yeah.
I think I said something like, put a big beat on it.
Yeah. Well, ultimately we ended up coming back to that song and changed it a little bit. But I do think I don't remember, you meant that we were in that moment. Yeah. So I think that was a key part where I think we both said, okay, he gets where he's not like, because that's a weird song. I mean, that's not, you pulled that, you were helping pushing that where we were wanting it to go, which was not like any sort of down the middle thing, which was kind of,
wasn't a single. Yeah,
exactly. Which was the big sell to Matthew to get you to work with us, is that you would take it in the right direction and not in a direction that was, you know, foreign to us. You know, and so I think when we saw that, it was like, okay, yeah, this is going to work. And I believe the next song we wrote was one of the ones off Loner. We started pre-production. You started taking us through some writing exercises at that point.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because figuring out how to write something that can also work on the radio that still is true to you and true to your heart, as you've figured out by now, takes writing a bunch of bad songs and a bunch of sellout bullshit till you figure out how to do it where it still sounds like you.
Yeah, exactly. We went through a lot of we still are going. I don't feel like we ever write the same process the same way. I feel like we're constantly changing it, but
I feel like each record takes its the process is the same for each record, whatever that is. Do you know what I mean?
Agree with that. Yeah, we find like a strategy to kind of make us just uncomfortable enough with whatever we're dealing with.
Where are we all at mentally? That's usually our first check-in, it seems like. And on the second record, which the documentary is based on, let me ask you about that real quick. The second record.
Sure.
You were going through some shit. I had my own shit, and Matt had his own shit, and we took it to El Paso. are you pleased with, your portrayal in the documentary and like how it came out? And are you enjoying the reception of it? Are you finding it weird? Or you know what I mean?
I'm overall, like, I think the thing that's the most important to me is what the overall statement is, and I think that's always been my biggest priority. So there's definitely, if I sit down and watch and pick through the documentary and I'm like, I hear like ridiculous grammatical errors and shit I make when I speak, and I'm very self-critical like that, like, and it's funny to me though, ultimately, because what's beautiful is that in all of our like really like just struggles through our journey, like a really great message that came through that is really above anything that we were, I think, even aware that we were doing. So, and I think the reception has been great. I think people have been super stoked to see just honesty, I think, is one of the key themes that I see in a lot of feedback, is just like, oh, it's refreshing to just see like what it's really like, the struggle. So I'm stoked. I want to, it's difficult for me to engage and as an artist in the current social media world where everything is like, be as honest as possible, share everything about your life. And I think projects like that for me are great because they have at least a little bit there. It's all real life. It's all who we are, our flaws, our insecurities, but at least there's a hand that's driving an overall message. It's a story. It's a piece of art that is using real life, so.
Yeah, Patty, I don't know if you know this about David, but he's one of those rare people in the modern world who will put his phone down when we start a session every day and not look at it again until he walks out of the studio like 12 hours later.
Yeah. So
much to his wife's chagrin, I'm sure.
So you don't use your phone for anything while you're in the studio?
Well, if like, that depends. If we're writing lyrics as a group, I usually will have my phone out. But typically
that's the only time. That's
Sure.
the only time.
Yeah. But typically my hands are on the keyboard,
right,
messing with the session, doing something. So
I envy that about you, actually. I wish I could separate the way you separate, or at least half that amount.
I was going to ask you, do you meditate?
Definitely. I've been on a yoga and meditation journey for the past 3 years now, I'd say. I've been like really solid with my yoga, especially. Meditation came a little later in that, maybe the last year. I've been trying to work towards it, but I've been it's been very fruitful for me in terms of breaking some of my like tendencies to just get stuck in mental loops, especially anxiety loops in my head, where so just seems breaking that and being in the moment.
It seems like a consistent practice like that would help you to be very much present and in the moment when you're being creative.
Absolutely.
Yeah, a lot of that yoga really started to kick in. I mean, I know you were doing some, but really kick in earnest during that second record, right? Because your back had literally said, no, I'm not participating in your life anymore.
Exactly. I for whatever reason, this has been part of what I think uncovered through my meditation, is that my whole physical journey, because I mean, a lot of people don't know I broke my neck in 2003, and I have like one of my vertebrae from somebody else with.
How did you break your neck?
Being an idiot. I was on the beach with some friends, and we were basically wrestling over a volleyball, a bunch of us, and I ended up
goofing around.
Just goofing around. And I ended up getting dropped on my head.
Oh.
And just shattered it. And so that was like as I was graduating high school, and it was just like a huge ego crushing. Like I went from like almost making the state tournament in tennis one weekend to the next weekend being in a neck brace all throughout the rest of my high school and all through my college. What do you call it? What do they call that when you go early to college and you meet and you fucking
Orientation.
Yeah.
orientation? Yeah. So it was
Okay.
like, I just remember feeling like, I just went on a huge tangent here, but this is leading to my back. But I just remember like, that was the first time I ever felt like, so like, I felt ugly. I felt like not the first time I felt ugly, but I mean, I felt really out
But
of place. I was
exposed. Like
exposed.
Right.
Yeah.
Not
like
feeling-
something was wrong with me. Yeah.
yeah.
Shaken.
And
Shaken.
not invincible. Because I think
Exactly.
up until
So it
that
was-
point, you kind of feel invincible when you're young, you know?
Yeah. Like
Yeah.
I remember my grandpa said something to me like that still to this day, like I wish I like was smart enough to like dig in deeper, but he was like, he kind of was like, told me that was what was supposed to happen to me and that like my ego needed that. and I was like, whoa, dude, that's like, all right. Like I called him Papa. He was like notorious for saying shit like that. That was just like, whoa, that was like probably a little too much, man, but okay. And had
When
I
you
had heard,
Maybe he's wise
go
as shit.
But when you say
No,
you
well,
wanted
dude-
that you didn't dig in deeper, what do you mean? What did you mean?
I didn't dig. Oh, well, I meant like, I guess the tangent, I'm not sure if this is what you're asking, but all of that has kind of led, like I went through like, it was a crazy situation and I didn't have any really long-term physical pains other than the fact that I feel like now I'm very like susceptible to inflammation in my back and in my neck. And so really like it goes through like when I feel like that has made my whole body very sensitive to it. So as I've started to uncover this, I'm trying to like view it as like really just like a part of my path that is without this pain. I don't think I would have been able to be so consistent with my yoga and my meditation and like some of these practices that I think have given me so much more over here and not just dealt with this. So I'm trying to, that's what my thing is, trying to be thankful for all that stuff, you know, even in the midst of maybe some suffering that you're going through, you know?
Yeah.
At the risk of getting too private, do you don't have a exceptional relationship with therapy? Am I correct in at least saying that? And that
No,
was
I don't.
my question is, do you feel like meditation and yoga is kind of your version of that? And only reason I brought that up is because of Patty's beliefs in therapy and stuff, and I thought maybe that would yield a decent conversation betwixt us.
Yeah, it's one of the kind of I'm gonna go unanswered questions in my life, or it kind of I have like two opposing views that battle me with it. Like number one, I just, you know, I've always heard that you haven't found the right, like it's always about finding the right match or the right person, but I just haven't found the right person. Every time I've gone, it's just like I have no problem external processing to people. Like I do it I'll do it with my wife. I'll do it with Matthew. I'll do it with the therapist. And then like, I just haven't, like, I think my expectations are probably wrong. Cause I always go in like, all right, I'm going to tell you my shit. And then you're going to go and tell me something. And like, I'm always so let down by it. You know, I'm always like, well, I didn't do anything at all. Like, and so I guess I have this view, which is probably wrong, but it's like, well, therapy is good for probably the people that just need to talk about stuff and can't get it out don't have a person to get it out to, or don't feel like, but like, if you're not stuck there, then if it's not just a physical, like, I don't have anybody to talk to, like, I just haven't found progress through it, you know?
Oh, and what are your experiences? Like, what was your first experience in therapy?
Usually I leave frustrated because I don't feel
like,
fixed.
was it an
you know?
individual experience?
Oh yeah. I've gone,
Yeah.
so the vast majority, I've only been to be fair, I've only been to one as an individual, and then I've done a couple others as couples therapy,
Okay.
3 or 4 others, you know.
Yeah.
3
3 or 4 other therapists?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, actually I think 3 other ones.
Hmm.
But the couples thing is interesting too, because that's a whole different dynamic.
Very
you know,
much
you're
so.
working on very different stuff at that point. So what are your what I mean, I know that you guys are both very, very big believers in it. How has it changed your life?
I feel like, so I've been in therapy for several years, but I feel like only recently have I started to make some like actual breakthroughs. I think for years even though I was a big fan of it, I was like doing it wrong kind of the whole time. Like I would want to make the most out of my sessions, and I would kind of plan out what I was going to say beforehand, and hold back a lot also. Like I was scared to, like, I didn't want to go into a session not knowing what I wanted to address, because that seemed like I was going to waste my time and waste my money. It's not for most people, it's an expensive thing.
Sure.
But by planning out what I was, by walking in with an agenda, I was actually like really limiting myself, because when you walk in and you have no idea what to say, for me anyway, some weird stuff, some awesome stuff started to happen, but I was always scared to do that. And I do think it's true that you kind of have to find a person that you really vibe with, because I've had one other individual therapist that I didn't realize wasn't a good fit until I found my current therapist. And my husband and I went to one other counselor before we found the one that we like. But I knew from my own good experiences in individual that was not a good experience. Our first couples counselor, like, just like stupid questions that I sometimes I feel like I'm too smart for it.
Yeah. How does it feel when you do?
Yeah, I relate to that. I relate to that. I would say this is that, you know, I've been to a ton of therapy. I'm a child of 6 divorces and lots of childhood trauma stuff. So when you go to therapy as a young person, you're definitely saying like, I'm smarter than this motherfucker. And, you know, not realizing even the work that they're doing, because they're actually way smarter when you're younger, especially. Sometimes therapy is have someone sitting there listening to you losing your shit. And just like a good cry feels post, you just feel better having a place to go once a week, because it's not the same as talking to your wife or Matt. It's talking to a person who truly has no agenda in your life other than to help you try to feel better. And so it's sometimes it's a good place to go unload all your shit. Sometimes you don't even know that's there. And just walk out, and instead of trying to take an agenda to it, like they're going to put me on task and the feeling better is literally just getting all the stuff that was in there out. Like, for me, it was, I'm really furious at my father, who continues to show up to my baseball games, but I never see him besides that. And you know what I mean? Just things like that I didn't even realize were in there till I started talking about them. You know what I mean? Yeah. And it's that, but one time a therapist told me, and it's really true, if you're the type of person that wants someone who gives you tasks, like goes, okay, so you're feeling this way about your father's betrayal of your family. Next time you feel that, let's try these few things. And also, I'd like you to think about this week. If you need that type of therapist, you got to find that type of therapist. There are those that are very proactive and give ways to deal with things. And there are people that just listen and say, thank you. And they're both necessary.
Yeah. And, or also just say up front, like, this is what I'm looking for, you know?
Right.
They might not.
I need someone who's proactive.
They might be able to do that and not know that that's what you want. And And I
Any
also
great
think
therapist will also recommend someone else if they don't do that. They'll be like, no, but my colleague,
totally,
that's your person.
and I do think it's really it's unrealistic to go to to think that you're going to go to therapy. Okay, I'm going to go for 1 week and I'm going to feel better, or go for 2 weeks or 3 weeks or 4 weeks, or like it.
I think that's the other speed bump that gets me, is that I think about the long-term financial investment associated with it.
Totally.
And like, that's a difficult, especially like my entire artistic mentality is to hunker down and make it and cut anything that's not necessary and put it all towards the investment of whatever it is that I'm passionate about. And so it's just like, I want to be like, okay, well, maybe I could do 3 or 4 sessions and then that'll be better. But it's like,
it's a very much a long-term thing.
It is.
Not
Yeah.
something that happens overnight.
But there, it is okay to go twice a month. It is okay to go once a month, and say, and what should I work on while I'm, you can make the investment you want to make. It is okay in times of crisis to go more, and then go less when you're feeling better, or stop for a while when you're feeling better. All those things are valid.
Yeah, I do that.
And the other thing is, sometimes you don't feel like unpacking anything. And I call it burying it down deep inside, which is where I'm at right now. I don't want to dull the sharp edge. I'm pissed off at the sharp edge, and I just want to live with it right now. And everyone, unfortunately, around me that loves me has to deal with it a little bit, because I don't want to go deal with it myself right now. But the thing that I do know also is that when you don't deal with severe trauma like you had in your life in the last few years, it unexpectedly, out of nowhere, will creep up and bite you in the dick as hard as it can, and your whole shit will fall apart, because you've been burying it down so long that there's just no more space in there, and it just goes like that, which is where addicts come from a lot and stuff. They just can't, they just can't function anymore. I would also say that there's something I did recently, and I know people close to us have done it as well, that called EMDR, which is total voodoo witch medicine that the whole time they were doing it.
It's very scientific, but
it is scientific, but it feels like a joke. The whole time I was doing it, I was telling my therapist, this is bullshit. This is a joke. This is not going to work. This is stupid as fuck. And what I was specifically going for EMDR about was my fear of flying, which came after I had children. I never used to be afraid of flying at all. And I just wanted to get to where I could be more calm, get on a plane, ride the ride, deal with the bumps, whatever they may be, and just not be in full fucking panic mode. Mm-hmm. And what EMDR in layman's term technically does is it retrains your brain. When like you were talking about anxiety loops, it takes your brain that constantly goes to that same station, right? The anxiety station, and it takes it to another place. It takes your neuropaths and says, instead of going to this really terrible place, which is the plane is going to crash and I'm going to die and my children are going to be alone. In my case, it takes me to it. I started with, I thought when she asked me, because what you do is you come up with a place where you would rather your brain go. In my case, at first, I like to idle in a boat on a lake. When you've just stopped and the boat's going like that and you have a beer in your hand and people are jumping off the side. I really like that feeling. Yeah. Okay. On a summer's day.
That's the one we're going to have together on the boat. Remember, Dwight?
Right. Oh, that's definitely happening, but definitely happening. Yeah. But I thought it was that. And then when I figured out after a few sessions was, no, it's not that. My happy place is when Patty and I have our bags and we're walking through the where we landed. I'm off, I'm out of the jetway, and I'm walking towards coffee and the cab or the bus or wherever. Yeah. And that is actually my happy place. So I redid where I go. And I literally, when I panic on a plane now, I think about, no, dude, I look, in 2 hours, you're going to walk down that just like you always do with your backpack on. You're just going to walk down the thing and we're going to be like, should we get coffee? Patty Patty saw me pre-EMDR when I was probably at my worst, because it got worse. That's the thing. Just that shit gets worse. And then she's seen me since I did EMDR. Do you notice a huge difference in me as a flyer?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I feel like you're much more relaxed and you kind of surrender to your experience.
I slept on the plane. I've never done that. I slept on the Europe flight.
Here's my question with it.
Well, it also helped that you were like, you could like lay down and stuff, like all that stuff helps.
First class, whatever. So go ahead.
Yeah. Hey. Yeah. I want to learn more about it, because the couple people that I've talked to about it have very like specific things that they were working on, and so it's like, maybe that's what therapy is for me, is figuring out what my specific thing is. But like, what is the trigger thing for you? It's flying. Like, I don't feel like, unless you get pretty general, in terms of what is actually triggering those loops. I don't know.
It can deal with general anxiety too. In other words, when you feel this, when you start to feel that, what happens in your body? Okay. Now close your eyes, hold these two buzzers, let them go back and forth, but concentrate instead on going, oh fuck, oh fuck, oh fuck, going to the boat or wherever your place is.
Sure.
You know what I mean? It might be laying with your dog in a grass. It could be anything. And it really does work.
You can also learn like self EMDR techniques.
They exist, yes.
Do they have YouTube videos for this?
I'm sure they do.
Of course they do. Of course they do.
Why haven't we already looked? We could probably just do it.
May I also say, though, that you might be a great candidate for group therapy. Like, maybe being alone with a therapist just like isn't your thing.
Yeah, and Patty's really been enjoying group therapy.
Yeah, and I just recently started that a couple months ago. Just like getting outside yourself and hearing other people's experiences. It's been kind of crazy.
In the same way that AA can be beneficial in a group, so can group therapy for certain types,
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, it has been interesting.
I couldn't do, personally, no way. No fucking way could I do that. But, each to his own.
I've been really
I would just say keep
it. Even though like I recently had a conflict with someone in my group, and that was a really uncomfortable thing, and it took me a couple weeks of processing before I like brought it up again and wanted to process it with the group. But what I love about group so much is that
tough.
it was.
I would be like, all right, you guys need to have your session. I'm gonna go out.
It was, and I felt a lot of negative things. But I think ultimately, once I got around to processing it with everyone and talking about it, it kind of showed me that maybe, if nothing else, it maybe was just a lesson or a practice for me to be okay with the idea of maybe someone not liking me, or being okay with being in conflict, because those things are really difficult for me normally, being in conflict or thinking that someone maybe doesn't like me. It's like the end of the world.
Do you think that therapy has become a part of your creative process, and is it something that's outside of it, that your creative process is here, your writing, your lyrics? Obviously those are therapeutic, there's no doubt about it.
For sure.
Do you think that it's a feeding one, and it's actually had fruit?
Yeah, for me definitely. And I'm not, like Dwight said, I'm not always in therapy. Like sometimes I'm in therapy a lot, and sometimes I kind of like take a break. So like it's been a couple months since I've been to individual, but I go to group once a week, and that's what I do. And Kevin and I used to go to couples counseling weekly or bi-weekly, and now we're not going at all right now because things are pretty chill. But one thing about couples is that when we were going more frequently, we try not to go just when we're having a problem, because then it's
negative.
Yeah. Then it like, it reinforces this feeling, this like negative feeling. Like we're in a bad place. Exactly. So we'll go to therapy. And so then therapy doesn't feel good anymore. Then it's like associated with negative and like bad stuff. So if you go with a little bit more regularity and don't just go when there's a problem, it can be like a nice, good, safe place for both of you. So I don't know.
The last thing about therapy I'll say is it also helped for me to decide if I liked going to a man or a woman. Something as simple as that. Like, I don't like massages in general, but if I'm going to give a massage, it's going to be from a woman. But every time they send a man in, I'm like, nah, I don't, not in any, I just don't want a man fucking grabbing on me. I also don't feel comfortable. I grew up mostly with women talking to a man about my problems in that way. You know, my buds, sure, but not a man. It doesn't work for me. So that's something to think about as well.
Yeah, I've never tried talking to a man. That sounds funny to say, but yeah.
But some men,
I will say,
that is the way.
I will say, in to use your massage analogy, I agree. However, every time I've gotten a male masseuse, it's been one of the best massages I've ever had. You know what I mean?
So maybe you should stick with the men then, you know?
Hey, you know, I don't know.
They got those strong hands. They got those strong hands.
My tight muscles.
Okay, so there was one other thing I wanted to say about the doc, which we got off on a tangent here. But the thing I wanted to say about the doc was my wife. I watched it with my wife and kids, which is a unique experience because I'm in that thing quite a bit. And my wife kind of realized something. She's like, "Oh, I realized you are a 10-year-old boy, like not just like always. Like that's what you." And she was talking about the scene. She's talking about the scene towards the end where Jeff's trying to get some great shot of us on the couch having a conversation, and I've been shooting the bird the whole time, and I'm giggling, and I can't stop giggling. And Jeff goes, "How long have you been doing that?" And I was like, "For a while." She was like, "I realized that that's truly who you are always."
Yes. Yeah,
I was like, I think I just realized that too.
I think your role is one of my favorite parts of the whole documentary, Dwight. Mainly, selfishly, just because, you know, people get to see what you do. It's a very difficult process to really explain to people that have never been through it. So, I'm happy that your close ones and everybody, you know, get to see what you do. Get to, you know, I think that's special. You know.
Did I text you what my mother texted me? I think I did, right? Where she said,
yeah. She said she loved it.
Well, she said, I feel like I have a whole new person that I get to know and meet because I don't see that side of you. She's like, I feel like I have a whole new person, like the adult working you that I just knew you as my kid. I thought that was cool.
Yeah.
It's got to be a unique experience.
I was listening to, this is somewhat of a tangent, but I was listening to Kevin Abstract from Brockhampton talk with Rick Rubin, and they were talking about specifically how, as artists, a lot of times you move forward in your close relationships with your parents, with your significant others, in like really real ways through writing songs and putting out art that, like, a lot of times you share parts of yourself that were previously hidden, and how it's just a weird concept to really think about. Like, you're actually, like, through your art and through putting your stuff out, deepening. If you approach it in the right way, you can deepen your relationships in a way that you weren't able to before, you know, and continue the conversations.
He came out as gay on a track, right? Like that's how he kind of told everyone, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, he's had what we talked about as, like, we joked like, this is a conversation song. If there's something in a song that you're going to have a conversation with somebody about, you know, as a conversation song. Well, he's had a lot of them. Yeah.
Oh, I know about that.
Was the big one. Yeah.
Yeah.
But there's something good about that too, though, because it gives you a chance to express yourself that clearly you've been hiding, maybe not intentionally, but and you get to control how the message comes out. And for whatever reason,
good. It's the only kind of music I want to listen to. I want to listen to the stuff that people are. I want to listen to conversation songs. I want to listen to songs that they had to say it, and just even if it made everything weird in their world, they had to say it. I'm into that. Give me that.
I mean, how many songs have I written where, like, I've written so many. I've written so many songs that have have sparked conversations in couples counseling.
Well, it used to be like a serious conversation where I'd be like, are you sure you want to say that? Because I mean, and now I just go, oh, that's going to be some therapy. That's going to be
It's
some
okay,
couples therapy right there.
Well, the songwriting process is cathartic in itself. And going to therapy for me helps me unpack and understand the things that I want to say. So it's like I go to individual and group to like unpack and process, and then I write the song, and that's a cathartic release. And then I do the work and, have the conversation.
And then I believe that whatever controversial thing that you've put out there, I think has been reinforced by the fact that other people feel the same way and resonate with that. And so it's like
well, the more you come to know yourself.
Everybody's fucked up and everybody has these weird feelings, and the more we're honest with them and just share them and say this is what it is, people will be like, well, that's me too,
Yeah,
I imagine both of our bands get very similar emails,
yeah
because the lyrics are so but the lyrics are so personal, often between the lyrics of The Wind and the Wave and the lyrics of Missio, that the people that relate to them and resonate with them, they resonate on a very personal level,
Yeah.
So,
Patty, question about lyrics. When you guys are writing a project, because I love your lyrics, like I truly think, I'll give that to both of you because I know Dwight, you're definitely gifted in that part as well. But are you given? I know how Dwight approaches records and the need for them to have some sort of cohesive thread through it, or like a step, like, hey, what is this record going to mean? Where are we going with this? So like knowing that has happened through in a way, how do you approach? Do you like draw a line and say, okay, that was kind of what I wrote about back then. What do I write about now? How do you organize your thoughts into a record, or is it just whatever you're feeling in the moment? No plan?
Yeah, I don't really plan out what the records are going to be ahead of time. It kind of becomes clear to me after the fact. Like after we had 3 records out. I mean, after we wrote the first record, I was like, okay, there's clearly a theme on this first record. This record is all about my experience growing up and in my house and my parents' marriage and my relationship with God and the family dynamic, and that it was clear that the record was about that. But then after record 2 and 3, and then seeing them all, it was like, oh, okay, that was here. And the second record was here. And the third record was here. I was clearly like wanting to get things out. I don't really plan them ahead of time though. I just write about what I'm feeling and what I'm thinking and maybe what I'm processing in therapy at the moment. 'Cause generally the things I'm talking about in therapy are the things that need to come out in that moment.
Right.
And it kind of like the map becomes clear after the fact.
You have had moments where though, where you've said, I do not want to write another song about my fucking father, where you fight it some,
Yeah.
Just like Matt with his, I do not want to write another sobriety song. I can't write that goddamn song again,
Well, and I think you've said before too, that, that certain topics that I write about in a way can become kind of a crutch, that you totally go to that because it's so familiar and it's so easy because you can access those feelings so well that maybe certain topics can become a crutch. And so, yeah, I mean, the same way I'm in therapy where I'm like, I can hear the words coming out and then I'm like fucking rolling my eyes because I'm like, God damn it, I do not want to talk about this anymore. I sound like a fucking broken record. I'm annoyed with myself, like I don't want to write a song about this.
Totally. Yeah. My challenge with Patty recently has been, and she's probably fully aware of it, but I keep trying to inject a lot of joy into the tracks I've been working on here in the Cludio, as I call it, and the closet studio, or as Patty calls it. And I want her to write her joy too. I want her to write about the things that make her happy also. I think it would be an amazing part of our story that's not there right now. We have a lot of sad stuff and a lot of dark stuff, even if it's wrapped in a happy package. But I would love to see her take a happy song and actually write a happy part of her. That's hard to do. It's hard to write a happy song. It's not hokey, but a song that writes about the things she loves, like putting her feet in the grass and rolling around with her dog and loving her husband. I would love to see those songs come out too, you know. Maybe they will.
Yeah.
Probably not. So in that context, let's talk about, you have a new record, which we have limited, we can only sort of talk about, but I wanted to just say, you know, those songs will start trickling out in the next, you know, couple of months or something. And it's some of the best stuff I've ever been a part of. Are we losing David here? Or is he, I guess he's hanging on. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Is it Storm? Yeah, he was freezing there for a second. It's some of the best stuff I've ever been a part of. I feel like it's as good as our Wind and Waves first record. Like, it just feels like we captured a perfect moment. You know, this new record of stuff happened in 24 days or something like that, start to finish.
Yeah.
And just talk about it a little bit for your fans that will be checking this out. And I'm curious as to your thoughts on it, and then we'll say goodbye.
Yeah. I have never been more excited to release this stuff. The process of making it was great because, especially those people who have seen the documentary, they know the environment that we made the last record in, which was kind of like, in some ways great, and in some ways it was just a distraction from the business side of it. And so the way everything happened was we just had this like opening of time where I think it was in November, December, where there was literally no business going on at all. We were off our label. We were just done. And so we had this complete creative freedom to just have fun and do the music that we wanted to do. And you mentioned us being on the same page creatively and philosophically and spiritually. And I think that's really what excites me about the record, is that, like, musically and lyrically and production, like, everything seems to really come to a focal point and deliver the messages in ways that I think are gonna open Missio's sound up to a lot more people, a lot more digestible, a lot more diverse in terms of our instrumentation and all kinds of things. We just had fun, man. I'm super proud of it. I'm proud of what the songs say and the message as well. So it's crazy times.
I'm stoked too. Like, I'm stoked to see the visuals you guys come up with around it. I'm stoked to see a unique release plan. I'm stoked that you guys are in a new home. I'm stoked that, you know, there's a new team for you to manage and help manage you. And I'm stoked that if we're gonna tie the horses to the cart, I want them tied to this cart. That's a good cart to tie them to, you know.
Exactly, man. It's gonna. I think it's gonna take us a long way, and I think it's definitely. I know everybody says this when they write their next record, but it is our best record so far. There's no doubt. I've gone back and listened to Loner and Darker the Weather, and then listens to the new record that we have coming, and it's just right. It's just right. So I'm excited about it.
I think it's really going to hit people in the feels. It hit me hard.
Yeah. I feel like
the best way.
Yeah, you bawled. My feeling is that, and everyone I've played it for has that same reaction. Everyone just goes, "What the fuck is this?" Because it also is a very unique sound. It sounds like a lot of things you've heard before and something you've never heard all shoved together at once. And
I'm not crying. You're crying.
Yeah. And that's the thing that I'm excited about the most, is that, to me, it's like a jumping off point. It feels like we were in the minor leagues on our first two records and figuring out, because you guys were a new band too, like figuring out how do you do electronic music in a new way, and how do you present all those type of things in a new way, and how does it still feel like David, who comes from a band world, and Matt, who would do DJ songs if you just let them do it. And how does that all come together? And me from the 80s and how does that all come together? And I feel like I said, to me, it sounds like a band playing electronic, big old songs, you know, it sounds like a band. I can picture y'all doing it. And the other stuff I've always thought, like, how are they going to do that one live? How are they going to do that one live? This one feels like I know exactly how they're going to do this one live.
And the way I would vocalize that same thing is that it's part of the challenge of making electronic music, is that you can do whatever you want and you can fill up that space to the max and with any sounds.
Unlimited.
But one of the things that exactly, and one of the things we did with this record, and it was like musically speaking, a goal from the beginning was to try to be more minimal and like not just stack and not just, I mean, we stack sounds, don't get me wrong, but not like stack parts. If a part's going to be a part, make it have a purpose.
That's the part.
And then make it as big as you need to make it, but that's going to be the part. And it was really like, okay, there's a drum beat, there's a big old vocal melody, and then there's a couple counter melodies and obviously big bass lines, and that's what it is. And just sticking to the core. And just like what I love about hip hop music, it opens up the headroom to let whatever's important, whether it's the low end or the vocal or the synth part, just blow out the speakers. And I think you can get a lot of really like exciting sounds that way.
In a weird way, I love the instrumentals as much as I love the sung versions. They're like their own beast on their own too, you know?
Totally.
Okay. P, got anything else you want to bring up with this sexy beast right here?
I could go on for another 2 hours probably. Agreed.
David's one of my favorite people. So we'll just say thank you, David, for coming on again. We really appreciate it. And we can't wait for this stuff to come out and y'all's band to get back in touring in 2024. And, you know, or whenever we all tour again. And, you know, just excited to see where you guys' career goes from here. And as soon as we are off lockdown, you know, let's go get some sushi, bro. You know,
dude,
on a real tip.
And thank you guys. And just so that it's said, it's always weird when friends tell friends, but you guys are truly one of my favorite artists. And I really love what you do. I tell Dwight all the time, not all the time, but every once in a while, I'll make him really
hopefully not too much.
No. I don't make him uncomfortable that often, but I do sincerely love what you guys do. Y'all's last record blows my mind. I still listen to it all the time. All of your records do. So I just, I'm a huge fan. I'm glad you guys continue to not do what you guys say you do and say like, this is the last tour we're ever going on. I'm glad you guys constantly lie about that shit. Because I am a fan and you guys are very talented.
I'm really good at lying to myself. So
yeah. And thank you. And I actually can't wait to play you some of the new shit. The demos I'm so stoked on right now. So stoked on them.
Yeah, I can't wait to just vibe out and hear them.
Yeah, we'll do an Audi listen, you know, after some sush. All right. Thank you, bro. We'll see you soon.
Yeah, see you later, guys.
Bye.
Well, that was awesome.
That was great.
Again, another great conversation. We're getting pretty good at this podcast.
I had no idea.
I'm going to say that.
Yeah, it was good. Good talk about therapy, meditation, yoga, all the hippie stuff. He's cool. I like him.
I feel like okay, so this text that I just got, let's talk about our show Saturday, please, for the fans. You know, we haven't sold enough tickets for sure, and we have tons of fans. So, you know, what would you say to the fans about coming and watching us and why it's important to us and things like that, Patty? Give us a little rundown about our little acoustic thing coming up. Ticketed acoustic show.
Well, let's see. I'm sorry. You want a rundown of it?
Tell them, what are we doing? Why are we doing it? You know, like.
I mean, we're doing it because we can't go on tour. We can't
and
do
we're both
the
broke.
thing that we do. And if we do this thing and no one's there, that's going to be like sad. It's going to make me really sad.
It's important to us that people watch, and we know we have tons of fans around the fucking world. So we get emails from them. We see them on Spotify. If you want to watch us do some intimate stuff, come watch us do it and, pay the small ticket price to help us feed our families and
Basically.
pay our bills. I know everyone's struggling, but so are musicians and so are artists. And we're going to take time out of our quarantine and get together, which we've already kind of merged our pod and get in here into the Cludio on Saturday at 3 Central Time, which is 9 in the UK, 10 in France.
Specifically doing it at that time so that other people can join in at a reasonable hour.
Yeah.
So
right.
We
the links are in our bios on all of our socials.
Yeah.
There's a ticket link on Facebook as well.
Mm-hmm.
Patty will put a link, maybe in this YouTube description, maybe in another IG post. We'll keep posting about it to try to get you guys to know that it's important for us. Again, Patty and I have never been into doing music just for music's sake, just for in a vacuum. Just like we don't like to do this podcast if no one's listening and no one's emailing it. That thing is going to be fun when there's a lot of our friends and family and fans out there watching and hanging out with us. That's the only way it's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
It's just more interesting to have a conversation and a chat.
There is a chat feature.
And we'll answer questions as much as we can, during that. So let's just have some fun with it. Right.
Right. And I do want to play a couple of those new tunes that we released back in February. Like I really want to play Rescue Me
and Father.
Really want to play Father. Yeah.
Sure. No
and
problem.
Other songs off of all 3 of the full length records, other songs. So it'll probably be about an hour. It'll probably go over because the Feelings Club shows were like 2 hours long. Easy.
Yeah. So it'll go over because we bullshit and talk, but the more people that are there, the more chances you have of hearing surprising things because we'll feel more inspired as well. So please come pay the $15 ticket. I know it seems like a lot. If you're a frontline person or whatever, or you're unemployed too and you can't afford it, I totally understand that because that's where we are too. But if you are still working and have some cash and want to sit around, we're going to keep it PG. You want to hang out with your kids and watch with us, please do. You know what I mean? Sit on the porch and watch a Wind and Wave show. Okay, enough pandering. Patty, you want to take us out?
Okay. Thanks for listening, you guys. I really enjoyed that chat with David. You can watch this if you're listening to it on a podcast app, you can also watch this on YouTube and on our Facebook page, the Wind and the Waves Facebook page, and on IGTV if I can get it up in time. That's been taking some time lately. Please email us because, again, it's more interesting if you guys are part of the conversation. You can email us at thedwightandpattyshow@gmail.com. Leave us a review if you haven't yet. We haven't gotten any reviews really since we've started season 2, I don't think. So it would be nice to see maybe some of the new listeners out there. I know we have new listeners since we started this.
A lot.
Yeah.
A lot, yeah.
Since we started season 2, I know we have new listeners. So if you haven't just taken a moment out of your day to leave us a review, please do that. It really helps us. I would really appreciate that. You can consider becoming a supporter on Patreon. It's patreon.com/The Dwight and Patty Show. And we have all kinds of unreleased songs and demos and videos and different things there that only Patreon
and more
supporters
and more coming.
See. And more coming. So, yeah. And one of the things our Patreon supporters are getting this Saturday is free access to the live stream. So things like that are really nice. Follow us on Instagram at The Dwight and Patty Show. You can also follow the band at The Wind and the Wave. TheWindandTheWave.com. All the things there. Merch store. and all the things and all the things.
All the things.
All
I
the-
also heard that clicking a like or a thumbs up or whatever on the YouTube, it also helps with their algorithm. So if you want more people to know about our podcast and that we're videoing it now, that also helps. So we will see you next Tuesday. Bye-bye.
Bye.
It's the Dwight and Patty Show. The Dwight and Patty Show. It's the Dwight and